Russia, a land known for its vast landscapes, rich history, and enigmatic nature, has been home to countless mysteries. And just recently, after years of being locked away from the world, some photos have surfaced from Russia. These photos, smuggled out at great risk by an anonymous source, capture something that no one was ever supposed to see. But what exactly do they reveal? And what truly is going on behind Russia's wall of secrecy? Join us as we unveil 12 of the most shocking photos that have ever been smuggled out of Russia. Number 12. General Yevgeny Prigozhin. Amid Russia's chaotic political landscape, a photo has emerged that is shaking things up. The image, featuring General Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner private military group, surfaced online and is raising eyebrows. Taken on June 12, 2023, just days before Prigozhin attempted to lead a rebellion against top Russian military officials, the photo shows him in a way that starkly contrasts with his usual powerful and intimidating persona. Instead of the commanding figure many are used to, Prigozhin appears in a modest tent, waving weakly at the camera. He's dressed in a tight white t-shirt that shows his round belly, and black shorts that expose his thin, pale legs. The image feels almost comical and unexpected, especially for someone known to project strength and dominance. This strange photo has stirred up plenty of speculation as to whether it was intentionally leaked to weaken his reputation and diminish support among his allies. The timing of the photo's release, as Prigozhin's forces were advancing towards Moscow, suggests that it might have been used as a tool to damage his credibility. Prigozhin had claimed that his rebellion was not directed at President Putin, but rather at other senior military leaders, whom he blamed for disastrous decisions during key Wagner operations. But as the pressure mounted from various sides, he ultimately called off the uprising, retreating before it could gather full momentum. Not long after, Russian forces raided Prigozhin's properties in St. Petersburg, where they found a stash of medical equipment, weapons, passports, and nearly $11 million in cash and gold bars. These discoveries have only fueled more questions about Prigozhin's true intentions and his complicated relationship with Russia's leadership. The leaked photo of Prigozhin in such an unflattering pose adds a bizarre element to the story of his failed rebellion. It's an image that stands in sharp contrast to the fearsome leader he once was, showing the unpredictable and secretive nature of power struggles in Russia. Now, with his military uprising behind him and this unusual photo etched in the public's memory, many are left wondering what twists and turns Prigozhin's life will take next. Number 11. The frozen ghost towns. Behind the tall skyscrapers that symbolize Russia's strength and greatness lies a chilling and dark truth, hidden away in the far Arctic north. In the harsh and unforgiving Tuva region, where temperatures can drop to an incredible 50 degrees below freezing, photos of ghost towns have appeared. These once busy communities were lively centers that focused on coal mining, which was essential to the Soviet economy. Today, they stand as quiet reminders of the region's grim past, which includes the existence of Gulag labor camps, where many people faced brutal conditions. The fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 led to a major economic decline, causing these towns to be abandoned. As the Soviet economy fell apart, busy settlements were left empty, with their residents fleeing in search of better opportunities elsewhere. Now the buildings and streets that once buzzed with life have fallen victim to nature's grasp. Time seems to stand still in these forgotten villages, where structures lie buried beneath thick layers of snow and ice. Huge icicles hang dangerously from staircases and window frames, while the buildings themselves look like ghostly shells, their former liveliness replaced by the unstoppable force of nature. Photographer Maria Passa was drawn to the stark and unusual beauty of these ghost towns, feeling the need to capture their isolation. She set out on a tiring 3-week journey, determined to photograph the haunting landscapes and the strong effects of nature reclaiming these abandoned spaces. Equipped with drones, she carefully recorded how snow and ice gradually took over these towns. Her photographs go beyond simple artistic expression. They are important historical records, offering a rare look into a forgotten part of Russia that remains mostly unseen by the outside world. The nearly empty villages of the Tuva region tell a touching story of abandonment and decay. Among the few remaining residents stands a lonely apartment building that still houses a small number of people. Conversations with these enduring souls reveal a mix of feelings about their tough realities, along with a hint of hope for change. Many express a wish for government help to relocate, yet the harsh truths of their situation often force them to stay, clinging to a fragile hope that their lives might get better. Their stories reflect the larger theme of how nature and time can erase human traces, wiping out evidence of past lives and communities. Passa's images of these frozen ghost towns are not just visual records of destruction, they are powerful symbols of the temporary nature of human efforts and the overwhelming force of the natural world. Furthermore, they highlight the failures of state-controlled media in Russia, which often do not accurately show the conditions in these remote and neglected areas. Through Passa's emotional documentation, the world gains a clearer understanding of the harsh realities faced by those living in these abandoned lands, where a dark historical legacy continues to linger and where life remains extremely difficult. Despite the haunting beauty captured in her photographs, today's fears are often connected to images associated with Russia's most powerful figures. Number 10. Putin's secret palace. This discovery involves over 100 leaked photos that are said to show the inside of President Vladimir Putin's secret palace. These images, shared by friends of imprisoned Russian activist Alexei Navalny, have sparked a huge debate about the luxury and secrecy surrounding the private life of Russia's most powerful leader. The existence of this fancy palace first came to light on January 2021, thanks to Navalny's organization, the Anti-Corruption Foundation, FBK. They claimed that since 2014, Putin had been quietly building a huge estate near Gulags on the Black Sea, covering an astonishing 17,600 square meters with an estimated cost of $13 billion. According to the FBK, this enormous amount of money was allegedly gathered through a complicated network of corruption, where Putin's close friends contributed large sums in return for political favors and influence. The Kremlin quickly rejected these claims, calling them ridiculous and without basis. However, the leaked photos tell a very different story. Although the images are not dated, they provide a detailed look at both the inside and outside of the palace, showcasing its luxurious features. The estate includes secure fences, a private port, a church, a no-fly zone, a border checkpoint, a wine cellar, a theater, a gym, a swimming pool, an aquatic center, and even an ice rink. The level of detail captured in these photos seems to confirm the architectural plans that were leaked earlier, supporting Navalny's and the FBK's claims. The stark difference between the luxury of the palace and the everyday struggles faced by ordinary Russians has only fueled the debate further. Despite the Kremlin's ongoing denials, these images show the perception that Putin's palace exists in a different world, representing a symbol of unmatched wealth and power. Navalny, a strong critic of Putin, has described this palace as a kingdom of its own within Russia, where Putin rules like an untouchable king. The photos of Putin's secret palace, filled with luxurious amenities and extensive facilities, have become a central issue in the ongoing story of Russian politics. Number 9. The burning Russian submarine. Recently, shocking images from a dry dock in Crimea, a region controlled by Russia, have revealed a troubling tale about a badly damaged Russian diesel submarine. These photos, smuggled out by a Western media outlet, show the devastating aftermath of a surprise attack on the Sasto shipyard, marking one of the most significant blows to the Russian Navy in recent memory. The submarine in question is the Rostov-on-Don, part of Project 636, which was docked next to the landing ship Minsk. The leaked images present a stark reality that contrasts sharply with what Russian officials have been saying. While the authorities have tried to minimize the extent of the damage, these photos paint a much darker picture. The once mighty submarine now shows large, deep gashes on its hull and clear signs of severe internal fire damage. The scale of destruction depicted in these images has sent shockwaves through military and political circles, not just because of the visible damage, but also because they reveal the true state of the Russian fleet. The attack by Ukrainian forces caused far more harm than Russian officials were ready to admit. This not only damages the reputation of the Russian Navy, but also raises serious questions about their ability to defend against future attacks. Despite Russian authorities working hard to maintain an image of strength and control, these photos provide a rare and unfiltered look at the reality of the ongoing naval conflict. They clearly show how vulnerable Russian forces are to strategic strikes from their opponents, igniting debates about the future effectiveness of the Russian fleet as the conflict drags on. Number 8. Zarechny, Russia's secret city. Zarechny is one of the few closed cities left in Russia. Photographer Ksenia Yurkova offers a unique view of life in Zarechny, one of the few remaining closed cities in Russia, a remnant from the Soviet era. During communist times, these secret cities were home to important military and strategic facilities, which meant they were often removed from maps and tightly controlled. While some closed cities like Zarechny are slowly starting to open up, many others remain hidden from the outside world, according to the Calvert Journal. In the past, closed cities were typically places where sensitive operations occurred, and they were hardly included on official maps. The movement of people in and out of these cities was strictly limited. Even today, Zarechny has numerous restricted areas, particularly around Rosatom, the state-owned company responsible for producing nuclear weapon components. Photography is prohibited in these sensitive locations. It wasn't until 1986 that the Russian public became aware of these closed cities, which were home to over 1 million residents at that time. For visitors to enter closed cities, they needed an invitation from a resident, and even then, there was no guarantee of receiving a permit. Zarechny, which is home to about 62,000 people, now allows its residents to come and go freely, yet they still live within the confines of barbed wire fences. Interestingly, Zarechny's residents refer to their city's postal system as post boxes. This nickname came about because mail for the inhabitants had to be sent to special post offices in nearby towns rather than being delivered directly to their homes. Yurkova describes Zarechny as a model socialist wonderland, showing its affordable food, low wages, and lack of political conflicts with nationalists or the opposition. Despite the gradual opening up of places like Zarekni, numerous other closed cities remain cut off from the outside world. Some residents of these isolated areas say they enjoy their seclusion, while others dream of the day they can leave. Zarekni showcases a part of Russia that tourists rarely get to see, revealing a hidden aspect of the country's complex history. Number 7. Vladimir Putin's secret daughters. In a surprising twist that has captured worldwide attention, never-before-seen photos of Vladimir Putin's two daughters, Maria and Katerina, were made public in 2020. These pictures offer a rare look into the private life of the Russian president, a side he has cleverly kept away from the public for many years. The photos were shared by Sergei Pugachev, a former close friend of Putin, who released them after a serious disagreement with the leader following a billion-dollar lawsuit against Russia. This action showed the big gap between them, especially since Pugachev played a key role in helping Putin rise to power. Taken during Maria and Katerina's teenage years, the photos show a striking contrast to the strong public image of their father. While the world sees Putin as a powerful leader, his family has mostly stayed hidden, their private lives carefully protected from public attention. Maria and Katerina, daughters from Putin's first marriage to Lyudmila, have lived with their identities closely kept secret. Even as late as December 2020, Putin skillfully avoided questions about them, sticking to his strict rule of keeping his family out of the spotlight. Pugachev, fully aware of what might happen, chose to share these pictures, shining a light on the lives of two important women in Russia. The photos show Maria and Katerina in settings that are very different from the image their father presents. One particularly striking image shows them in the grand hallways of the Kremlin, representing the privilege and power they have known since childhood. These pictures not only show the comfort and luxury around them, but also suggest the great pressures and expectations they have faced as daughters of one of the world's most powerful leaders. As they have grown into adulthood, both Maria and Katerina have carved out their paths, though under their father's watchful eye. Maria has built a name for herself in medical research and is known as Maria Venova, after marrying a Dutch businessman. Together, they have started a family, making Putin a grandfather, a fact he has never publicly acknowledged. Meanwhile, Katerina, who initially wanted to be a rock and roll dancer, has become an important figure in Russia's artificial intelligence field. She took on the surname Tianova in honor of her grandmother and is now leading one of the country's key technological projects. Despite their successes, both Maria and Katerina prefer to stay mostly out of the public eye, reflecting their father's wish for privacy. Even in a rare 2015 interview, Putin briefly mentioned his daughters, expressing pride in their language skills and personal achievements, but quickly returned to his usual unwillingness to discuss family matters. Number 6. Putin's secret train. In a surprising discovery that reveals a hidden side of Vladimir Putin's private life, newly leaked photos have brought to light a luxurious and secretive train that plays a significant role in the Russian president's daily routine. This unexpected information comes amidst the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, unveiling an unknown aspect of Putin's lifestyle that does not paint the Russian government in a positive light. The images, published by the Dossier Center, led by journalist Mikhail Khodorkovsky, reveal that Putin owns a specially designed train car, identified by the number 02178630. This train is not just a means of getting from one place to another. It's a lavish retreat outfitted with high-end features like a gym and a modern spa. The existence of such a luxurious train, designed to ensure the president's comfort and well-being, raises eyebrows and ignites curiosity about its necessity, especially given the rising political and military tensions in the country. While Putin has made public appearances traveling by train for official meetings, the revelation of this extravagant train car leads to questions about why he needs such luxury. The train's amenities suggest that even while on the move, Putin places a strong emphasis on health and fitness, reflecting a level of personal involvement that starkly contrasts with the everyday realities faced by many ordinary Russians. The leaked photos also show that Putin and his team have carefully planned for his safety and comfort, indicating that this train may serve as a secure sanctuary during times of crisis. Although it's uncertain whether the train was used during the recent Wagner Group uprising, its existence raises concerns about Putin's heightened sense of paranoia and fear for his safety. As the world closely watches Putin's actions and policies, this secretive train offers a rare glimpse into the comforts enjoyed by one of the most powerful figures in global politics. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. In a small village in Russia, a strange photo was found, tucked away in an old book. The photo showed a secret meeting between important leaders, talking about plans for a hidden treasure lost for many years. A curious young woman named Anya discovered it while cleaning her grandmother's attic. Anya shared the photo with her friend Ivan, a talented hacker. Together, they found clues that led them to a secret place in the snowy mountains. Risking everything, they decided to sneak into the heavily protected area. Under the cover of night, they quietly moved past security and reached an ancient cave. Inside, they found old maps and shiny artifacts, proof of the treasure's existence. Just as they were about to take a piece back with them, alarms rang out and guards hurried in. Thinking fast, Anya and Ivan used the photo as a distraction, escaping through a hidden tunnel. As they stepped into the moonlight, they realized the photo was not just a picture, it was the key to opening a world of adventure and danger. They had uncovered a hidden part of history and a treasure hunt that would change their lives forever. What treasure do you think Anya and Ivan will discover next? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Number 5. Photos of young Vladimir Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin is often seen as a serious and strong figure, but rare photos from his younger years show a surprising side of his personality that is very different from the tough image the world usually sees. Born on October 1st, 1952, in Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, Putin grew up in a city that had just begun to recover from the harsh effects of World War II. His childhood was shaped not only by the tough political situation of the time, but also by a strong desire for power and success. From a young age, Putin was passionate about martial arts, especially judo. These activities not only helped him build physical strength, but also taught him discipline and strategic thinking, qualities that would be very useful in his later political career. But Putin was more than just a skilled athlete. He was also a smart student. He attended high school number 281 in St. Petersburg, where he did well in his studies, particularly in subjects like chemistry and history. His commitment to education led him to Leningrad State University, where he studied law and graduated in 1975. It was during this time that he began to develop his early political ideas and plans. After finishing his studies, Putin quickly entered the secretive world of intelligence by joining the KGB, the Soviet Union's well-known intelligence agency. His years there were important. shaping him into a disciplined officer with a strong sense of authority and control. KGB records describe him as an outstanding officer, dedicated and well-educated, traits that helped him rise in the political world. In 1991, as the Soviet Union fell apart, Putin left the KGB and quickly moved into politics, starting with important roles in the local government of St. Petersburg. He steadily moved up to high-level positions in the federal government and was appointed Prime Minister of Russia in 1999. Soon after, he became president, marking the beginning of a long and significant time in modern Russian history. Putin's strategic and decisive leadership has allowed him to stay in power for over 20 years, greatly changing Russia's political scene, both at home and abroad. He has overseen major constitutional changes, such as those in 2020, which could extend his presidency until 2036, and has influenced global relations with key world powers. Number 4. Paul Whelan in Russian prison. Recent photos from Russia have given us a rare and haunting look into the life of Paul Whelan, an American who has been locked away in a Russian prison for more than 3 years. The United States government has repeatedly condemned the charges against him as unfounded. These images, broadcasted by Russia Today-RT, reveal a stark picture of Whelan's life at IK-17, a remote and infamous penal colony known for its harsh conditions and strict rules. In the photos, Whelan is seen wearing a plain black prison uniform and operating a sewing machine, a common task for inmates. The images also show him talking to a reporter who hinted that conducting a proper interview was impossible, suggesting that his environment is tightly controlled. This restriction emphasizes the limited communication he has, showing his sense of isolation. Other photos depict Whelan eating a basic meal and holding what seems to be an identification card, likely his prison ID. These details serve to underline his status as an inmate. Additionally, CCTV footage captures him interacting with United States diplomats through a glass partition, illustrating both his physical and emotional separation from the outside world. The timing of these photos is significant, as they appear during heightened United States efforts to secure Whelan's release. David Whelan, Paul's twin brother, has mentioned that Paul told the family the video might have been recorded earlier, possibly under pressure. According to David, prison officials forced Paul to take part in the filming, and when he resisted, they retaliated by destroying his personal belongings and seizing some of his property. While these images may be influenced by political motives, they still offer an important insight into Paul Whelan's situation, shedding light on the psychological and emotional toll of his extended imprisonment. Negotiations for his release were still ongoing as of the time the photos were taken, with United States officials asserting that the charges against him were unjust and politically driven. These images add significant weight to his story, representing the world of the human cost of geopolitical tensions and the ongoing struggle for freedom. Number 3. The Holodomor. This photograph takes us back to the early 1930s, a time when one of the worst man-made disasters in modern history happened, the Holodomor. Taken in secret by a brave photographer, this image gives us a heartbreaking look at the widespread hunger and destruction that hit Soviet Ukraine during this dark time. The word Holodomor comes from the Ukrainian words for hunger and death, and this tragic event was not caused by natural disaster or bad farming, but by the intentional actions of the Soviet government under Joseph Stalin. Stalin's government put harsh policies in place demanding extremely high grain quotas from Ukrainian farmers. They took so much of the farmers' crops that there was barely anything left for them to feed their families. This wasn't a mistake, but a cruel part of a bigger plan to crush Ukrainian pride and weaken any resistance to Soviet control. The result was devastating. Entire villages were wiped out, and millions of Ukrainians starved to death or suffered from extreme malnutrition. Despite how big the famine was, the Soviet government worked hard to hide the truth. They spread false information, called any attempts to show the reality anti-Soviet propaganda, and those who dared to speak out faced prison or even death. It was in this fearful atmosphere that the photographer risked everything to take this powerful image. Always in danger of being caught, they managed to secretly take the photo and smuggle it out of the country, knowing the punishment for getting caught could be severe. But their desire to show the suffering endured by the Ukrainian people was greater than the risk. When the photo finally reached the West, it exposed a shocking truth that went against the Soviet government's claims of success. The image of thin, starving peasants trying to survive in the ruins was a strong response to Soviet propaganda. It showed the harsh reality of the famine and the enormous suffering caused by Stalin's cruel policies. The hollow faces in the photograph tell a story of great pain and strength. The image had a huge impact, forcing the world to face the dark truth hidden behind the Soviet Union's shiny image. Number 2. Secret Gulags. This image takes us deep into one of the most disturbing parts of Stalin's Soviet rule, the notorious Gulags. These were forced labor camps scattered across the cold, remote lands of Siberia and other far-off regions, and they became a symbol of extreme cruelty and inhumanity. The photograph, bravely taken by a former prisoner, gives us a chilling glimpse into the harsh reality that thousands of inmates faced, people who went through suffering beyond imagination. The Gulag system was a huge network of labor camps created under Stalin's rule. Its purpose was to punish and exploit those the Soviet state saw as undesirable. These camps were filled with all kinds of people: political enemies, intellectuals, religious leaders, and regular citizens who somehow broke the regime's strict rules. Often they were imprisoned without a trial, and their sentences, usually given out randomly, could last for decades. Inside the gulags, the conditions were horrifying. This secret photograph reveals just how brutal life in the camps was. Taken in secret, it shows prisoners working in freezing temperatures, their faces thin and hollow, their bodies wasted away from hunger. The relentless cold, combined with poor clothing and little protection from the weather, made their misery even worse. Food was scarce and of terrible quality, with most prisoners getting only small portions that couldn't keep them healthy. Starvation and disease were widespread, leading to countless deaths. Medical care was almost non-existent, and prisoners were left to die from illnesses and injuries that could have been easily treated elsewhere. The Soviet government went to great lengths to hide the true nature of the gulags from both the international community and their people. Official propaganda painted the camps as places of reform, hard work, and discipline, presenting them as beneficial for both the state and the individuals. But this image tells a very different story. The sight of exhausted, broken prisoners working in terrible conditions destroys the regime's carefully crafted image of efficiency and progress. The bravery of the prisoner who secretly took and smuggled out this photograph cannot be overstated. Taking such a risk to capture and show the harsh truth of the gulags was incredibly dangerous. Getting caught could have meant severe punishment, Yet this person's determination to expose the suffering of fellow prisoners helped reveal the brutal reality behind the Soviet regime's lies. Number 1. Lost Souls of Chernobyl. One of the most haunting events of the 20th century is the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. The disaster happened on April 26, 1986, when one of the reactors at the Chernobyl plant exploded, sending toxic radioactive particles into the air. The fallout contaminated large areas, making them unsafe for people and creating long-term health risks. Despite how bad the disaster was, the Soviet government tried to hide the true size of the event, controlling information and keeping people from the worst-hit areas. The aftermath of this tragedy is shown in a creepy photograph of Pripyat, a once busy city near the plant that was suddenly deserted. This photograph was secretly taken by a brave journalist who risked their life to show what was happening inside the exclusion zone, the dangerous area around Chernobyl. This image doesn't just show an empty city, it tells the scary story of what happens when human life is quickly stopped by an invisible, deadly force. Pripyat, a city that had been full of life, was left frozen in time. Its streets, once filled with children's laughter and busy people, are now quiet, with buildings that stand like empty shells. The playgrounds are empty, classrooms remain untouched, and homes are left just as they were, creating a strong feeling of abandonment. The silence of this once-lived city speaks to the suddenness of the disaster and the trauma faced by the people who had to leave their whole lives behind in an instant. Nature has begun to take over Pripyat, with trees and plants growing through the cracks of buildings and sidewalks. But even as nature moves in, the sense of destruction stays. Which of these shocking photos did you find the most intriguing? Share your opinion with us in the comments section.